As parents of athletes, we always want what's best for our kids. Burnout can be a very intimidating possibility that we have to face as parents, and we want to help our children avoid that. A huge way to help us to do that is to understand our child and understand our athletes and know how to push them properly. We want to get the best out of them, which means we can't just let them do whatever they want when they want, and we want to encourage them and push them in the right directions, but we also don't want to push too hard. So knowing our athlete, knowing our child is very important. Another important factor is to focus on the process. Be task-oriented, the techniques and the skills, as opposed to the outcome. Don't be outcome-oriented. Outcomes add additional stress in things that we aren't in full control of. And when the child has too much stress, too much anxiety, that's a huge factor in emotional fatigue. So focus on the process, because when we do that, we perform better and we lower the stress and we get better results. It's also important that the parent is involved in the learning process. They understand the sport, they understand how to get better at it, and they can help their child and speak their language, and they don't seem ignorant to the child as well, or the athlete. So you're able to have that dialogue and you're able to see and what's working, what's not working, and really be there for them. So understand the learning and be involved in that, but also be involved with the child in their sport. Show up at their practices, show up at their games, and show up consistently. Don't just show up to the big games. You know, when you show up just to the big games, what's it telling your child? It's adding pressure. They're in a new environment that they're not as comfortable with, and it's saying this game is more important than my other games. However, we're not outcome oriented, we are process oriented, we're task oriented, and when we're task oriented, we want to focus on the training and on the process and on the skill and the technique and the tactics, not just the results. When we focus on the results, it increases pressure. Distress is a big factor in emotional fatigue and leads to burnout. Another thing is taking time off, giving your child a proper amount of time off, even mentally and emotionally, away from training, away from the games. Are we talking about it consistently, or are we able to disconnect? And especially in the off season, maybe in the winter or during the holidays, great time to go step away and stop training and take some consistent time off. As a parent, it's very important to listen to your athlete and listen to your child and get to know how they're feeling and how their body is doing and how their motivation is, and ask them the right questions, but listen to their responses. And the more you know them and the more you can dialogue with them and have that rapport and that honest relationship, then you're going to have a good feel for where they're at emotionally and physically, which are huge factors in burnout. Finally, another way to understand your athlete and to relate with them and to help them to do what's best for them is to have a relationship with the coach. Be open and honest in dialogue with the coach, because they're with your child during training and they also want what's best for your child and also want to see them succeed and perform their best. So understanding the sport, listening to your child, knowing how to push them, knowing where they're at emotionally and physically, and knowing the coach and knowing the sport and working together to help your child to perform their best, to avoid burnout, and to be at their optimal level, both physically, emotionally, and mentally. This is really going to help your child not only to avoid burnout, but to excel and to perform at their ultimate level.